What an action-packed finale of the Faraway Paladin. It's great to know we have a season 2 in the making. We knew that since last week. But the fact of the matter is, if we didn't have a confirmation that we were getting more, this would have served as a pretty open-ended ending that would have left me satisfied as I hoped for a season 2. So we're just kind of in the best of both worlds. I can easily wait, not need to jump to a source material because it just feels satisfying, but also knowing that I'm going to see the next arc, which has been very hyped up by source readers. And I think from the first 6 or so minutes of this episode, with Will's kind of downward spiral to being literally knocking some sense into him to pull him back up, was amazing. And then the rest of kind of like regrouping, figuring out how to take on these demonic beasts, taking the fight to them, not having the same thing happen again, and then seeing them not only take out the Chimera, but seeing Raystav take out the other beast by himself. I mean, he didn't get that title for no reason. He's a badass, and he definitely deserved those, 10 gold coins or whatever the reward was. Just everything about it felt satisfying, because I think this episode was probably the most isekai episode for Will's character to date. I mean, I've constantly talked about over the videos why I think the isekai element is a good point to this episode. It's not in your face, but it's a core aspect of Will's character. We know he was alone and afraid and didn't really have friends and family to really kind of cherish him, so he never really got to experience what it's like to have falling outs and things like that. So based on this reality, he looked at Mary, Blood, and Gus and said, I want to have what they had. So he just assumed that everyone that he meets that decides to stick with him would be able to do the same things he could do. So the first, basically, taste of defeat, which that defeat easily could have killed Manel or anything like that, it's something to throw him into downward spiral thinking that maybe I can't have what they have. I can't put the people that I care for in danger, so I'll just deal with it myself, because he is an isekai hero who is very, very powerful, and no one can technically keep up with him if they're trying to match his pure power level. However, it doesn't mean he can't work with other people. It's understandable why he went into that negative downward spiral. And to have our boy come in and just knock some sense. I mean, when he talks about how, maybe it's okay if he can break his arm because someone can heal him, I was not expecting him to say that, nor was I expecting him to actually snap his arm. But the fact that even after all that, he got back up, and when he was using the fairies, and the fact that Will realize that if he dodges it or whatever, he'll then in return hurt the person he's trying to leave in the first place to protect. So then just the way he ends up getting defeated, it's one of those things where he didn't overpower him or anything, he just emotionally overpowered him. And I love seeing how Will just goes from this edgy, vengeful isekai hero character to snapping back to who he was. Yeah, he made a mistake with that last battle, but it doesn't change the fact that they just need to regroup. They need to prioritize, and there's times where Will needs to stop thinking that what he can do, other characters can do as well. We see it in the rematch with the Chimera. There's a moment, there might be two, but there's one for sure, where he tells our boy to get the hell back, goes and climbs a tree because he can't take the brunt and the brute force of this creature, but he can attack from the distance. So they're being a lot more tactical without completely disregarding the relationship that was blossomed throughout this journey. Over these 12 episodes, we had this great family kind of prologue, just really building that great family atmosphere with some crazy stagnate action to leave it all off, to then the rest of it building up with Manel and, B and everything like that. It's just so great to see how they built this really great story that feels like we saw so much more than 12 episodes worth, but it didn't feel fast-paced. Hell, to me, it didn't even feel slow-paced. It just, it felt like we've been a part of this journey for me for 100 episodes. That's how invested I feel with the world and the characters. And it was great to see the highs and lows of a character like Will, from losing the family, to gaining the family, to having friends and everything like that, getting the taste of those isekai elements. That's why I think the Faraway Paladin is actually one of the better isekai uses of the isekai element. Because often, when you have a moment like this, right, you would have Will reflect being I don't know how to deal with friends. I don't know how to put myself above others. Or he would just have a lot of these concepts and these dialogues in his head that he would actively criticize himself because. But instead, what the Faraway Paladin does is they give us glimpses of flashbacks, him curled up on the bed, visibly concerned, and he'll mention it off and on. But it's not overly in your face, but it actively should be in your mind when you see situations like this. The illness of the strong, as it was pointed out in this episode, is something that shouldn't be taken lightly. I saw some confusion last week, not in my comment section, but just when I was browsing and seeing some other opinions online, and people acting like what Will was doing was ridiculous or it made no sense, but it made complete sense. This boy was treating his party as if they could do what he could do. They can't, and in return, he almost got a friend killed. It was a mistake. I don't say Will was an evil person because of it, but it was a mistake nonetheless. Seeing how he handled it in the rematch this time shows how he can go about it, and who knows, maybe they could end up being as crazy as Will down the line. But nonetheless, his kind of downward spiral thinking he needs to be alone because no one will keep up with him, he never really knew what to do with friends to begin with, so the only reference he had was Mary, Blood, and Gus. That didn't work out, so he felt like shit because he felt like shit in his first life, and it's feeling to him like, wow, I guess I can't be happy no matter which life I'm given. So it's completely understandable for that character arc, and it was without doubt the best moment Will has had in this show to date, but the supporting cast backing him is what made it truly special. And seeing just the techniques they use, from the fortification of them all charging at them, and they have the shields and the spears, and then the Chimera attack was awesome. I mean, I wasn't expecting a sneak attack, because when they're talking about how, like, clearly almost like a chessboard, recapture land and break away the seals, and I was like, wait, is this creature not actually wanting to fight? And then it does the sneak attack, and I was like, okay. That's like totally like villainous creature, like what they should do there. And it completely caught me off guard, and I loved it because of that. But it just felt like a conclusive episode that kind of just casually drops the bombshell that, without even realizing it, like Will in this episode, I wasn't even thinking it, he's kind of become a lord in his own way. He funded everything. He got the blessing to raise an army and take back lands. They're literally raising a temple in the name of Gracefield. At this point, Will literally controls a mini nation and has become a lord, and, you know, that would be interesting to see where it would go into season 2, and luckily for us, we're getting a season 2. Just looking at the journey of the Faraway Paladin, yeah, I wish it had a bit more time in the oven production-wise, but the last couple of episodes, I think action-wise, were so well done. I saw some criticism on the B-side saying, like, they didn't really like how they looked because a lot of it was, like, 3D. But the mist that they used to kind of cloud them, I thought really added this, like, eerie atmosphere, so I loved the way they looked personally. But the idea of the action, especially in the intro of the episode, with Will kind of, like, overshadowing Manel, he's very much, like, looking down on him, as if he's not worthy to stand next to him, so he doesn't want to see him get hurt. But as the fight escalates, you see actually Will start to shrink in the perspective, and Manel is overshadowing him. The use of the camera work in this episode and just the past couple of episodes was remarkable, and the action sequences were really flashy in the best ways that they need to be. To me, this show, sure, I mean, they could have used a bit more time in a lot of those simpler scenes, and it's not the most highly refined production out there, but it did what it needed to, and the high-octane moments were drop-dead beautiful in my opinion, and did what they needed to, with some incredible line work with the background art and things like that. To me, this was just like the perfect Isekai series. Like, it is so good, it's a great fantasy, characters across the board fantastic, the world building, the lore, the religion, and everything like that. It is so well done, and it's so great to know we're getting another season of this quality anime. Hopefully it's not going to come out too soon, so they do have time to refine it, because obviously they're working on season 2 the same time they're working on season 1. That's why we got such a quick announcement. But still, I'm hoping that they give it enough time to refine some of those other areas that they can touch upon, and keep those high-octane moments like we saw in the past couple refined as they currently are, if not even better. But let me know your thoughts and feelings on the last episode for now. Of course, you know I'll be back talking about season 2 when it does drop. Leave a like if you enjoy, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.